recently Priyanka Chopra went on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which is notorious for telling women that they should be girl bosses, hide their slutty pasts from their boyfriends. And it started out as something much more raunchy than it is now, which is just like celebrities talking about their feelings, which I hate.
Fifis.
So she went on Call Her Daddy recently and talked about her relationship with Nick Jonas. And she said that she is an alpha type woman. And in her previous relationships, she was not allowed to be an alpha. And men kind of held her down or made her into a doormat. So
feels like there should be a middle ground there somewhere.
Yeah, I do too.
Just saying.
And also it's awkward looking at all of these pictures where she's towering over Nick Jonas.
So those high heels, man.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of those Christian Louboutins, or otherwise this guy's going to have a problem later.
So about Nick Jonas, she said, he thrives on seeing me shine. He's most excited about the shows I'm doing. It's just like, come on, what was I thinking before? That's what you want. You want your man to be your champion. You don't want your man to be insecure by you or intimidated by you. I'm an alpha girl. I'm an ambitious girl, a go-getter, and I'm not ashamed of that.
Does she champion him, though? That's the real question. Does she do the same for him?
Well, she didn't say that she does.
Then it's clearly not important to her.
It sounds a little bit one-sided to me.
Yes.
And then I also wanted to point out that she went on Call Her Daddy after the same podcast talked mad shit about her and her relationship, but she wasn't aware of it, I guess.
I mean, to me, that's more of a, like, that's funnier on her part, because then she can be like, I don't even know. It's like the meme. It's like, you took everything from me.
Back in the day, back in the day, the same host said, Priyanka is a lesbian and Nick has big nipple syndrome. I want Priyanka to stop using him as her beard. They're constantly posting to prove to the world they're in love with each other, and it's disgusting and repulsive. Also called them ugly, said they wanted to punch them.
Calling Priyanka Chopra ugly is haram.
Yeah, she's definitely not. I don't really have an opinion on Nick Jonas, but
who does he get? Did the Jonas Brothers got big money still, or is that like did they?
I mean, the Jonas Brothers had a little bit of a comeback after.
Okay, but he's got money. He's like, it's not like he's tethered to her, like he needs her.
Maybe she wants to feel like that, and I think I wanted to point this out because there's a trend in Hollywood where women want to be perceived, at least, as the breadwinners, the alphas, and essentially wear the pants in their relationships because they're in an industry that essentially treats them like they are the boss of everyone.
Yeah.
And they call the shots in their industry. They're powerful. We were just talking about Sandra Bullock threatening to F up anyone less powerful than her on set who made her feel uncomfy.
Yep.
And it seems to me like they're projecting this message out to women who are not in that position.
Yeah, and it becomes a weird one because, like, this is gonna sound like I'm falling into the red pill sphere here, and I'm not.
Go for it.
But the idea is that, like, they're right that men of wealth and status will date a woman no matter. She does not need to make money. If anything, they don't want her to work. Women aren't going to do that. Priyanka Chopra might date a Nick Jonas, but she has to find just the right level of less successful than her because she's not dating a busboy. That's never going to happen. That's not a thing.
Right.
The closest you're going to get is like Dolly Parton, who's been married to a contractor for like 50 years, but he actively stays out of public limelight and isn't part of her public image, right? Like the average woman especially her level of fame, is going to date somebody of equal or more stature than them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's this weird message that men should be attracted to you for your career.
And that's
which is something that can always be ripped away from you, especially in Hollywood.
That's why I said, like I said earlier, I think the big problem society is facing is sort of like this acceptance, and these women who proclaim to be like these boss babes. It's like you're only really doing this to be perceived. Like this lady saying I'm an alpha. Why do you have to say that to anyone? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And as you said, like, jobs can be taken away, your money can be taken away. So really all you're saying is that you're essentially a slave to the industry, your job.
Yeah. And that's, I think, why Me Too maybe happened in the first place, is because they were so tethered to their careers for their self-worth that a lot of mishaps and miscalculated bets happened based on that.
Also, guys at that time period, like identifying with your job and having your career be this huge aspect of what it was very natural in human history to be a provider. That's what guys were seen as doing. It's just your job became that extension of your ability to provide, where back in the day it would be your ability to hunt and gather and provide, which was inherently masculine. And now it's like what is it now? Women are the majority of the people graduating from college. Women are the majority of the people that are succeeding these days. And there's a bit of a problem where they're like, and there's also been feminists who like admit they're like, I would never want to date a male feminist who it's because they know.
Or maybe they would never admit it.
So
but it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Hollywood women, some of the wealthiest and most powerful women in society, are still the most neurotic people, like constantly plagued by worry of losing it all.
Yeah.
And that's when I saw this clip of Gabrielle Union on an account called Black Millionaires.
And what they're doing to their child is a whole nother discussion.
That's her and Dwayne Wade.
That's a mess.
Very weird situation. So she said that in her relationship, they split bills 50-50, and she still has anxiety about being financially secure due to all of her responsibilities, which force her to be a workaholic. And she was just saying, like, there's constantly this, like, demon on her shoulder saying, like, you're not working hard enough, you're not doing enough, don't rest, don't sleep in, like, you better work.
Well, Kim Kardashian says that, and everyone loses their mind, and she's allowed to say it, right? Like,
I mean, Kim Kardashian is saying it for different reasons, I think.
I still think it's funny, though, that Kim Kardashian says it and everybody gets really mad at her. I said what she's saying is essentially the same thing. For Gabrielle Union, like, is that just a lack of trust in the relationship, or maybe it goes back to faith, a lack of faith that life is going to work out, so there's a neurotic need to keep pushing forward even though you've both been successful, and perhaps then the kids are the ones that suffer because maybe you don't need to be working 24/7. And again, it's fair to point out that what we're doing right now is we're Monday morning quarterbacking somebody else's life, and
that she's putting it, but that she's putting it out there for people to see and judge. That's the thing. Like, if she never talked about it, it wouldn't be on this show right now.
Yeah.
You know? I really just don't appreciate when Hollywood women say that, like, make broad statements about how ordinary women should behave in their lives and their lifestyles. Because their circumstances just don't apply to 99.9% of people out there.
Yeah. It's like when COVID was happening and people were like, I'm just going to take a break for a while. I'm like, isn't that nice to just like, you know, it's like, oh, I wasn't working for a while. I'm like, must be nice to just take a break. Oprah doesn't leave the house for like 3 years, and you're like, oh my gosh, how did somebody stay in the house for 3 years? You look at her house, it's like the size of a city. You're like, oh, that's how.
It's also like,
it's got like an Amtrak to get from one side to the other, so of course.
This stuff isn't new. Like, it's been around since the 90s with like Destiny's Child.
Oh yeah.
And then Jennifer Lopez's My Love Don't Cost a Thing is kind of setting up this ideal where none of your considerations are about being provided for or protected, but only because you are in a position that 99% of women will never be in.
Mm-hmm. And also,
most women's love does cost a thing. That's my point.
It's I think it also goes back to the fact that men have not been taught how to behave in a society as the role of women in society has evolved extensively in the last 20 to 30 years. Well, the men have been told, figure it out. Like, we don't really know what your new role in society is. As women enter the workforce, as women now increasingly take these higher level jobs, you can still work in the sewers. All that's fine. Women can be independent, but they never really, you know, women, you can be anything. You could be president one day. You could be this, you could be that. They never really told men how they were going to have to react to that, how that was going to affect the dynamics with the opposite sex in their relationships. And rightfully so, they're confused because they're told they're still supposed to be providers. You're still expected to pay on the first date. You're still expected to do all of the things that you're supposed to do.
You're supposed to
court
LARP
someone
as a provider, but not actually be one.
Yeah, because in a lot of ways, women have been, in my opinion, kind of scared crapless by things like The Handmaid's Tale and all of these things that don't actually represent a representative reality.
Yeah.
As we see it. So they're living in this world where it's not objective reality. It's
Right.
not what's actually happening. They're worried that they're going to go back to a time where they're going to be expected to be barefoot in the kitchen with 3 kids. When look, most couples, it's why a lot of these red pill podcasts shouldn't resonate necessarily with everyone's like, look, most households, both parties work anyways.
Right.
It's not the norm anymore for one person in the house to work, because most people need to have both incomes to survive anyways. And it hasn't caught up in our divorce court yet, whether we're talking about alimony in a lot of ways, which was created early on as a way to hedge against women who were did not have any skill sets, did not have any way to make money because they got married at a young age and didn't have any way of taking care of themselves. That's not the objective reality of relationships when relationships end now. You both leave the relationship with skill sets and the ability to provide yourself most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of a lot of things, because as you said, like, why aren't guys being like informed on how to respond to all this boss girl stuff? And I think, honestly, maybe I'm a little bit cynical, but I look at it as like an effort to sort of like eventually break down the nuclear family. Because if you think about it, it's like the more a woman is devoted to her job and being an alpha lady, that means less time being at home, less of an interest wanting to have children, raise children and stuff like that. And then if you like pair that with the fact that our culture doesn't really encourage people to wait to have sex when they're married and actually like be wise about who they get into a relationship with, it's like those two things working at once. Yeah, you're gonna have like high divorce, and then you're also gonna have women that are in love with their job as opposed to being in love with the family that they could potentially
And also
have.
like submitting to a boss instead of a man.
Yeah, you can't say that. Submit to my husband. No, the patriarchy, blah, blah, blah. But then you'll work for your boss that could fire you at any moment.
And I guess like you're in a unique position as well because you work for yourself.
Yes.
It also seems to break their brains when then they go on these podcasts, like whatever, and they're like, "What do you bring to the table?" Well, I got a great job. The guy's like, "I don't give a crap about your job." Like, I could literally not care less about your job.
One other thing that they say is I have so much sexual experience. That was another thing that came up on whatever when I was on, is like the guys at the table were like, we don't look for women with sexual experience. That's not something that guys care about. Maybe that's something that women care about, but that's up to you.
Yeah.
It's like such projection.
Yeah.
I also want to say too, like, yeah, I work for myself, and I think the other thing that our culture is lacking is thinking about how to get out of the grind if the grind is something that you don't want to do. Like, I used to work in customer service and I was miserable. So I said, let me make an investment. Let me save my money until I can afford to just be on my own and try the streaming out thing full time. And I think a lot of people are caught in this cycle where they're like, well, I have to work all these long hours, otherwise I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. Is there something else that you can do to sort of like invest towards getting out of that cycle instead of like, I almost feel as though, and I know this is a crude comparison, but I feel it's like how a lot of like these OnlyFans chicks fall into things. It's, oh, I'm making a lot of money. Is this the only way that you can make a lot of money? There's nothing else that you can contribute to society?
Right.
And let's face it, the OnlyFans thing has been proven in a lot of cases nowadays to be a bit of a mirage. Unless you're in that 0.01%, you're a SoundCloud rapper for women. You are. You're
I like that.
You're not making the 7-figure
Except
monthly
with less
income.
creativity.
But and less homies to buy the album.
Yeah.
Like,
God,
it's
how in your position have a lot of people ask you the question like, how do I start streaming? How do I start doing what you do?
Don't.
Yeah, like what do you tell them?
You know, I think, well, first of all, I think streaming, you have to have a spine for it. Like, obviously, I have learned, and a lot of people aren't equipped to handle that type of like, animosity from random people online. But I also, if I were to give like a serious answer, assuming they can handle that type of criticism, is you have to diversify your content. You can't just put all of your faith in one particular platform in the same way that all these boss girls, they say, oh, you know, I am a CEO of this company. Well, they can let you go. They can kick you out of there at any moment, just like YouTube can pull the plug whenever they want.
also real CEOs don't put CEO in their bio. Just saying. It's true. They don't. There's a $20 one right there.
From
Andy Leiterman.
Hey, Andy Leiterman.
And it's a big heart.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
buddy. And congratulations to you and Lydia.
On the baby.
Yes, on the baby.
Yeah.
And there's another one there from Darth Doza.
That one didn't come up for me yet.
It says, maybe I will read that one. It says, Darth Doza says, I'm not reading that, but if I were, I have never heard of Gothics before, but now I'm looking forward to finding out more. Love the show. Good weekend to Brett the Hitman and Mary the Red-Headed Anime Girl Slayer.
Oh gosh, I like that title.
Luckily, I was not named after Brett the Hitman Hart. I was named that because Bret Hart has one T in his name and mine has two. And as far as I'm concerned, one T is also haram. You should not be named Brett with one T. It's just Brent without the N. Mm-hmm. It's a problem. I was named after my brother got named after people that like went to war with my dad, and I got named after like sports people. So you know, it's good. It is what it is.
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot of women in the online space just don't have what you were saying, like the spine for the amount of pushback. And that's why I think a lot of the influencers or streamers just fall in line and have the approved opinion trademark on everything, and they simply don't have the guts to speak out when they have like privately held opinions that go against the mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of now I equate it to like any other job. You know, if you're working in corporate America, your boss can let you go at any time. And at that point, you have to find another job. So if you are a content creator and you sort of feel like you can't voice your opinion because you're afraid people are going to unsubscribe or what have you, it's like, it's sort of the same thing. You have to find your income at some point. So why not just go through the process, speak your opinion? Yeah, you lose subscribers, but then the turnaround of people finding your content that actually appreciate your speaking your mind, like why not go through that?
Right.
There's a $20 one right there. From Andy Leiterman again.
Miss you guys and the rest of the Castle crew. So cool seeing Gothics on PCC. And Graham Wilson in the chat. Can't wait to see the new piece. I don't know what this stands for. TQSH.
Oh, Trad Queen Story Hour.
Oh, Trad Queen Story Hour with Sour Patch Kids streams live every Monday through Friday at 7.
Go check it out, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Also, I want to point out that the trad wife movement, the trad girl movement, is another offshoot of all of this, which is a product that is being sold to people if you're selling it to them on the internet that I am a trad, as soon as I see the floral dress, I'm like, that's a costume. That is not you may dress like that, but you're amplifying an image to sell something to someone.
How different are you at the end of the day doing that from the OnlyFans chicks?
I like they get done. They're just like, oh my God, I hate this thing. It's so itchy. And they just take it off and they put on just like a regular shirt and jeans. They're like, my God, I freaking hate canning, and I don't like I don't like candles, and I don't like any of this crap.
I don't like homesteading,
and baking is stupid. It's like, but I say like it feels a need. So like as men feel like culture has changed, it's pushed women into the workforce, and they're looking for some type of connection. Then come the women who are like, I'm here to connect with people in a traditional fashion. And sure, many of them, they're pushing ideas that are fine. They're good, but I'm weary of anyone selling me something on the internet via anything like that. So thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.